Well, yeah, it sounds like we can officially get started. Yeah, welcome everyone. Yeah, this is the Golden Bear Advising MCB, IB, and Public Health Schedule Planning webinar. And yeah, we're glad you were able to make it today. My name is Greg Sarah. I serve as an L&S college advisor. I use the he, him pronouns. I've been on campus for going on 9 years now. And yeah, I'll popcorn around so all of the presenters get a chance to introduce themselves. Octavio, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Octavio. I'm one of the Integrative Biology and Molecular Cell Biology major advisors. Yeah, happy to be here. Bonnie, I'll popcorn over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bonnie. I'm also one of the IB and MCB major advisors and happy to be here as well. Welcome, everyone. And I'll pass it to Lauren.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Magzani, and I'm one of the public health academic advisors. So I'm really excited to speak with you later on about our major, and I'm excited to be here. So welcome. And I'll pass it over to Patricia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Patricia, one of the public health advisors as well. Nice to meet you all. And then I'll pass it to Greg. Should I pass it to the chatters or?
Oh, you can pass it on back to me.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Patricia. And yeah, again, thank you all for coming today. I know we're going to be able to share some wonderful information about each of the majors that can help you think about how you're going to compose your fall semester schedules and get great overviews of all the major requirements involved. So yeah, today, the idea for today is, I should say the goal is to be able for you to receive more information and insight on the courses within each of these major programs, learn more about the requirements, learn more about course scheduling for them, good course combinations, and things like that. A lot of this type of information is built into the B courses GBA modules. So the modules that you're using in B courses as you're working toward completing your GBA final assignments. So this information hopefully is going to be complementary to the information in those modules. In terms of a little bit of housekeeping for the webinar today, we'll have time to answer some questions toward the end of the presentation, and we have colleagues who are serving as chat monitors during the presentation. Please direct all your questions toward the specific Q&A function within Zoom, and please don't use the chat function. We won't be able to answer questions through chat, but we will be able to answer questions through the Q&A function. We'll be able to answer those questions as we go throughout the presentation, and then toward the end of the presentation, my colleagues are going to be able to surface some of those questions that were sort of commonly themed or that were asked a number of times during the presentation. If we're not able to get to all questions, please know it's not a one-time deal in the sense that a great person to contact after today is going to be your GBA advisor, who you can reach out to through the B Courses messaging system or by attending any and all of their office hours that they're offering as well. So yeah, once again, thanks for coming, and keep the ball rolling. So yeah, today the general idea for the webinar is that we'll do a quick introduction to the College of Letters and Science, and then we'll be able to dive into a little bit more specific information about each of the majors: integrative biology, molecular cell biology, and public health. And then at the end, we should have about 10 minutes for Q&A to answer some of the questions that arise during the presentation. As you've probably heard by now, L&S is the College of Letters and Science at Berkeley. It's the largest undergrad college within UC Berkeley. We have over 23,000 students, undergraduate students within the college, and we offer over 80 majors that are run through over 38 different departments. Generally speaking, L&S is the largest liberal arts college, or it is the liberal arts college and the largest college at Berkeley. And it's generally composed of three main areas that includes art and humanities, biological sciences, math and physical sciences, social sciences, and undergraduate and interdisciplinary studies majors. So there's a huge range of majors within the College of Arts and Sciences. And yeah, this slide provides a bit of a, well, I guess what it would be sort of like a Venn diagram of sorts, showing that they're basically the emphasis is to show that there's different types of advisors available to you as students during your time in L&S and at UC Berkeley. Yeah, I'm here representing the L&S college advisors, and that's just one type of advisor you'll have on campus. And yeah, the role of college advisors is to assist with course planning. So your GBA advisor is an L&S college advisor. So in terms of assisting with course planning and program planning each semester, in terms of exploring majors, assistance choosing majors, discussing course, discussing college policies and procedures, how to navigate those types of things. And in general, hopefully we're a good place to come is as you have questions about connecting with resource offices on campus. Yeah, we'll be able to identify some places that might be helpful to you as you go through your college journey. The other main type of advisor who's joining us here today are the undergraduate departmental advisors. And we're definitely lucky and fortunate to have Octavio, Bonnie, Patricia, and Lauren here to present about the majors. Major advisors are great sources of information when it comes to everything related to major requirements. If their department offers a minor, everything related to minor requirements, processes for declaring majors, processes for choosing courses within the majors, putting together good course combinations for lower division courses, helping identify upper division courses that will make a concentrated, focused academic experience for you within each of the major programs. They're great sources for that, and 100 other things that I'm sure I haven't mentioned. Within another type of advisor is peer advisors. So within all the departments represented here, and within the College of Letters and Science, there are undergraduate students who serve as peer advisors for the departments and for the college. Peer advisors are great sources of information to be able to talk with current students' experiences with the majors, with the college, with requirements, with course planning, with next best steps to take, with resources on campus, all that kind of good stuff. So knowing that there's peer advisors available is a good and important thing. And last but not least, faculty advisors within the College of Letters and Science are available as well. Faculty advisors are the kind of folks to go to when you're looking to discuss particular academic interests and how to put together a major program, put together those upper division major courses that will help you reach your goals academically and from a career perspective, or for like moving toward grad school. They're very helpful with those things in mind. Also, in terms of getting to know faculty members for things like graduate school planning, especially for master's or PhD programs, faculty members' advice is vital for that. Being able to talk with faculty members about your research and research interests and their recommendations for how to pursue research, it's also very useful to talk with faculty as well. And from there, I will pass it on over to Octavio and Bonnie.
Thanks, Greg. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Bonnie, and I'm one of the IB and MCB major advisors, and I'll be presenting this next section with my colleague Octavio, who said hi earlier. We also have our two other advisors, Clara and Zach, who will be answering questions in the chat. Clara and Zach, do you want to say a quick hello and introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Zach.
Zach is our lead IB advisor. And we also have Clara. Are you there?
Hi everyone, I'm Clara. Nice to meet everybody.
And Clara is our lead MCB advisor. So on this slide, you'll see our contact information as well as our websites, each for IB and MCB. Feel free to take a screenshot of it and you can refer back to it later. But check out our websites. There's a lot of good information on there about our major, including requirements, how to declare, information about research, as well as how to make appointments with us. And those direct links are on the slide as well. We are available for remote and in-person appointments throughout the year. And then during the fall and spring semesters, we also offer Zoom drop-in on Fridays from 1 to 3. All of this information is on our website, so check that out. And if you want to keep in the loop about events and announcements from our department, you're welcome to subscribe to our weekly newsletters from our websites as well. Next slide, please.
Okay, great. And hi again, everyone. So this is an overview of what Bonnie and I will cover today for the IB and MCB majors. As a reminder, you can ask questions in the Q&A of this webinar, but we might be addressing some of your questions throughout the presentation. So things like sample plans, course selection, whether or not you can use AP credit for our majors. So maybe wait a bit to see if we answer your question during the natural progression of the webinar. But this is the quick overview of what we'll cover. Next slide, please. Okay, so as Greg mentioned, college and major advisors are not the only source of advice at your disposal. So we have a dedicated, knowledgeable team of peer advisors who can give you a current student's perspective on various things, including course planning, finding research, post-graduation plans, and referrals to other resources. Our peer advisors are juniors and seniors in excellent academic standing who want to talk with you about your academic journey, and they have been in your place themselves just a few years ago. So definitely, they have that fresh perspective on the things that you're going to be going through in the upcoming future. And so definitely please check them out on the relevant web pages on our department websites, which are linked here on this slide. And you can have access to these slides afterwards as well. Let's see, next slide, please. Okay, so there are many resources available to students to help you learn more about the different majors and common student experiences. One of them are the major maps, which you can access online for all or at least most of the majors that UC Berkeley offers at the link that's on this slide. So please do yourself a favor and check these out. Again, you will be given access to these slides so you can refer back to URLs after the fact. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so let's get into these life science majors. So starting with integrative biology, the IB major has 2 emphasis areas that students can declare into. So one is called Ecology, Evolution, and Organismal Biology, or EEOB for short, and the other is called Integrative Human Biology. And no matter which emphasis you choose, you'll have a chance to integrate multiple perspectives, some subfields and approaches to examine big picture questions that could span large swaths of time, levels of biological organization, and organism diversity. So I would consider the core of integrative biology to revolve around the subfields of ecology, evolutionary biology, and physiology, but oftentimes you'll be integrating multiple of these topics within the same class to study life on Earth and applying these to more specific subfields such as paleontology, genetics, behavioral biology, just to name a few. Okay, next slide.
And so for MCB, which, as you probably already know, stands for Molecular and Cell Biology, the major is split into 6 different emphases that are listed on this slide. This can be a great major for you if you want to study biology at a microscopic level and become an expert in the emphasis that you choose. Keep in mind that regardless of whichever emphasis you choose, all MCB students take fundamental classes in biochemistry, genetics, and of course, molecular biology and cell biology. So there is quite a bit of overlap between the emphases. And ultimately, your major and your degree is going to be in MCB. So if you are interested in a very detailed look at biology, this could be a great major for you. Next slide, please. And next, I'll share a little bit about the LSBE program, or the Robinson Life Sciences Business and Entrepreneurship Program. This program is designed for students who are passionate about both biology and business, and neither one feels like an afterthought. You'll be earning 2 degrees in about 4 years, and there are no curriculum changes to either program. So it is very rigorous. There is a freshman seminar that's offered during the spring, and it's designed to help students explore the intersection of biology and business and help you see if this is something that you want to pursue. So if you are interested, please contact the LSBE staff. You'll see their email on the slide. Just contact them to ensure you're on the right track early and to discuss the program in more detail. They also have a lot of information on their website, so check that out as well. Feel free to take a screenshot to keep the info for later. Next slide, please.
Okay, so students who are intended into one of these life science majors oftentimes ask us, like what are the differences between these majors and how can I assess which one is the best fit for me as an individual? And so Bonnie and I, we already covered some of the specific aspects of each of those majors, which you can see on the left and right sides of this diagram here. But I also wanted to specifically sort of cover some of the common ground between the two majors. And so first of all, the lower division preparation for both of these majors is very, very similar, almost identical. And there are also similarities in terms of options that you have for upper division elective courses to sort of focus in on certain specific topics in the life sciences. Both majors also give ample interesting opportunities for study abroad and research opportunities, and can lead to excellent trajectories in graduate school, professional school, and career preparation. You also have the ability to get sort of like, wet lab experience in both majors, probably a little bit easier in MCB, but still available in IB. And some general topics that you can find in common in the curricula of both majors are things like physiology, metabolism, endocrinology, neurobiology, genetics, genomics, molecular adaptation, so on and so forth. So there are actually a lot of similarities. And so ultimately, which one is the right one for you might just come down to which specific area seems more interesting to you academically. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so in terms of declaring these two majors, this table gives an overview of the lower division sort of introductory math and science classes that are required for the major, and it gives an overview also of what is actually required in order to be eligible to declare versus what doesn't need to be taken in order to declare. And in some cases, there are some, such as the things that are highlighted in yellow, which are okay to either be completed or currently be in progress with them at the time that you declare. And so you look through that, you can sort of see that on your own. But one thing I wanted to emphasize as well is just we also do have a GPA minimum to be eligible to declare, and that's a 2.0. And so that covers 3 aspects. Number one, you have to have a 2.0 overall in all of your UC Berkeley classes. You also have to have a 2.0 in all the courses that you've taken for the major, and that includes the combination of lower division and upper division courses that you've taken. But also, if you do start eventually on some of the upper division courses, that GPA for the upper division courses needs to also be at or above 2.0, which means that if you start off in one semester taking an upper division course for the major and you get a C- in that class, then immediately you're no longer eligible to declare at the current moment, because a C- would yield a 1.7 GPA, which means you just have to take additional coursework in the next few semesters to bring that upper division GPA back up above the 2.0 minimum. But these two majors are not competitive in the sense that you're not competing against other people in terms of some people getting accepted into the majors and other people getting rejected from the major. As long as you have completed the coursework that we require according to this table, and that you meet the 2.0 minimum GPA, you're allowed to declare the major. And our online declaration form for each major is available on the respective websites during the fall and spring semesters. We don't do summer declarations. Okay, next slide, please.
So next we'll go over the math options for both IB and MCB. So both IB and MCB accept either the Math 10 series or the Math 1 series. We don't accept the Math 16 series. The Math 10 series is intended for life science majors. It covers calculus, statistics, and combinatorics. So it is very fast-paced, and previous coursework in calculus is recommended. If you are looking into med school in the future, it does cover both the calculus and stats requirement for med schools. The Math 1 series covers calculus topics only. And if you're interested in the LSBE program or another STEM major, you should plan on taking the Math 1 series, or just check what the other major would also accept for math. If you are looking for extra support for calculus, the Student Learning Center offers the Math 98 adjunct course, which is a 1-unit course that provides extra tutoring and practice problems. The math department also offers the Pre-Calculus Essentials program in the summer, which includes a math diagnostics exam if you're not sure which math class is right for you. If you haven't taken calculus yet and you're feeling nervous about Math 1 or Math 10, then you could consider Math 32 pre-calculus in your first semester and just push calculus to the next semester. This will not hold you back from graduating on time. Next slide, please. And so for the chemistry options, general chemistry, Chem 1A and 1AL, is usually taken during your first semester for IB and MCB students. But that said, it's okay if you end up taking Chem 1AL, the lab, separately in a later semester. So you can take the lecture and lab separately, but the lab does have to come after you've completed the lecture. It's also okay to just take general chemistry in your second semester as well. The Student Learning Center also offers support for Chem 1A, generally offering study groups, tutoring, and exam review. There's also Chem 32, which is the Chem prep class, which we would recommend taking instead of Chem 1A if you haven't taken chemistry recently, or if you don't feel like you have a strong grasp of chemistry. So there's a couple different options there. Next slide, please.
Okay, so in terms of biology options, we have one standard introductory sort of general biology series, that's Bio 1B and Bio 1A/1AL. So I noticed that we had Bio 1A go first there. That's because there is no set order to these courses. You can take Bio 1B first before Bio 1A. And actually, I happen to have been an integrative biology major at UC Berkeley myself, and I took Bio 1B before Bio 1A, and it was perfectly fine. Just one thing to note, though, is Bio 1A has a requirement, a prerequisite, that where you need to complete general chemistry, meaning Chem 1A and 1AL, or otherwise you could cover general chemistry with an appropriate AP chemistry exam score. And so those are enforced prerequisites before you're allowed to take Bio 1A. And so most students probably wouldn't end up, or many of our students maybe don't end up taking their first introductory biology class until their second year. Not in all cases. In some cases, you can be taking one of these classes in your first year. But if you happen to be falling into that situation where you're taking introductory biology in your second year and you still want to start on some life science stuff in your first year, some options to consider include things like IB 77A or B. A is offered in the fall, B is offered in the spring, but they're essentially the same class. There's a 1-unit seminar class That's a good option for all biology students, regardless of what your intended major is. It can give you a chance to meet faculty and learn about the research that they do and the different courses that they offer. And it'll also give you a chance to meet other students, other members of your classmate peers that you could potentially start forming connections with as you go through the rest of these introductory science courses that are required for either of these majors. And then we also have some other lower division course options that you can get into during your first and second year. While you wait to sort of get into Bio 1A or 1B if you want. So various things here. I can let you sort of read through these and refer back to the slides at the end, but definitely check these out on the Berkeley Academic Guide to see if any of those might be of interest to you, and definitely talk with us as major advisors if you want to sort of go over if any of those would be sort of good fits for your program plan in your first year. Okay, next slide.
So let's talk a little bit about schedule planning. Feel free to take a screenshot of this slide as well. We also have a couple different sample plans on our websites as well. But we generally recommend taking about 2 of your major courses each semester to maintain a balanced workload. And as you can see on the 2 plans here, you can still graduate in 4 years without having to take summer classes. I want to point out the plan on the right side, which shows a 4-year plan with a student who starts with Chem 32 instead of Chem 1A, 1AL in their first semester, and they're still able to finish in 4 years without summer. The only real difference here is that this student would declare in the fall of their junior year while they're in Bio 1A, 1AL for MCB, and that's totally fine. For IB, you can still declare in this example in spring of sophomore year while you have Chem 3B in progress, since Bio 1B and the other requirements would have been completed according to this plan. But these are just 2 possible options. There's definitely, other ways to go about it. And, we're happy to go over more options as well if you want to meet with us. Next slide, please. So test credit. Note this is for MCB only. The IB major currently does not accept any test credit to fulfill their requirements. So as you can see on this chart, MCB accepts test credit for Chem and Bio. Now, even though we have a lot of students who come in with test credit, they often still choose to take Chem and Bio here anyway to strengthen their foundational knowledge before taking upper division biology courses. We also, recommend taking those courses here anyway as well. If you're considering applying to health programs in the future, like med school, dental school, or any health programs, they keep in mind they often don't accept test credit anyway, so you wouldn't be able to waive them. But the test credit still gives you units to count towards the graduation requirement. Note that we don't accept AP credit for math or for physics, but if having taken AP calculus places you in a higher level math class, you still need to take 2 semesters of math. And feel free to reach out to us directly to talk about what those options might look like. Next slide, please. And then here's a slide. I would also recommend taking a screenshot that you can refer back to it later. But here's a slide with some resources that we thought you might find useful here during your time at Cal. We've mentioned the Student Learning Center a couple of times already, but they do offer a ton of resources to support your learning. I also want to highlight the IB and MCB club websites. Definitely check those out, especially the different events that they host throughout the year. We also have the pre-med, pre-health website listed on there, which has a ton of good information about pre-health programs as well as pre-health advising. And then we have a couple of links as well for resources for research. Next slide, please.
Okay, so in terms of careers, so first off, we know, historically speaking, that a lot of the students who are interested in our majors, IB and MCB, happen to be interested in healthcare types of careers, whether that's going off to medical school, dental school, pharmacy, or whatever the case may be. There are various other options out there for healthcare, but definitely you have other options at your disposal. You can delve into things like research, education, biotech and pharma, both on the science and business side of things, and also in conservation as well, among others. And so really, the reality is you can do pretty much anything with either of these majors if you focus on large transferable skills like analytical thinking, problem solving, and teamwork. And so please check out the resources at the UC Berkeley Career Center, such as the ones linked here on this slide. The earlier you do it in your career here, the more prepared you might be as the time for graduation comes closer for you. Next slide, please. Okay, so now I wanted to sort of go over some common myths that we hear from students in both of these majors, IB and MCB. So Greg, I'll prompt you to sort of cycle through the animations here one by one. So first off, one myth that we hear is that pre-med or research is the only job option in biology. Well, as I mentioned, you can, do a variety of things. So next, please, Greg. If you, if you sort of focus on, as you sort of learn more about the scientific process, you'll be able to appreciate sort of experimental design as a problem-solving approach, which is a skill that practically every employer would like to see out of a potential candidate in any field. Let's see, next, please. So another myth that we see is that I need to do research as a student here during my time as a student. Next, please, Greg. And so you definitely can if you want to, and there are plenty of opportunities to do that here at UC Berkeley with it being a major research university, but you're going to be getting lab experience anyway through your required coursework, and also discovery takes many different forms. So explore your opportunities as much as you can and find ways to engage with discovery in whatever way suits you best. Next, please. All right. So another myth is that I need to compete with my classmates for grades. The reality is, like, I feel like actually I found out through my time at UC Berkeley that the single most effective study strategy that I used was to study together with my peers in my classes. When you do that, you're able to form connections with the material in a stronger way. And, as the saying goes, a rising tide lifts all boats. So definitely try to connect with your classmates and work together so that everyone can thrive here together. Next, please. All right, so another myth is that all my classmates know what they're doing. The reality is, well, we're all coming from different starting points. And so I encourage you to ask questions and make connections with each other for mutual support. You're all in this together, and together you can all thrive here. Next slide, please. Okay, all right. So at this point, I'm now going to transition over to public health with Patricia sort of leading off with public health.
Hello, everyone. Next slide, please, Greg. Thank you. So welcome. Again, my name is Lauren Magzani. I'm one of the public health academic advisors and managers for public health. And we just wanted to say, obviously, public health is something that seeks to improve human health through the development and application of knowledge. So we're in the major, you're talking about, preventing diseases, but also how a community is affected. And so we'll go through some of the major requirements, the prereqs and things throughout the presentation. But yeah, so next slide, please. And again, Patricia, if you just want to say hi, she'll present a little bit later.
Hi.
Next slide, please. So what do you learn in public health? This field is very broad and interdisciplinary. There's lots of different subject areas that are covered in our major. For example, this is a listing of the major requirements that you would be expected to complete for the degree. So data science is one course, data C8 requirement, statistics and probability, epidemiology, environmental health, health policy and management, community health and human development, and then a capstone course and some electives. And the electives, you could take classes in any of these areas that I just listed, or it could be in other areas of interest, in public policy and psychology, sociology, take some MCB and IB classes. So there's lots of different kind of room for you to explore and use this major to kind of understand different aspects of what public health is. There's a link at the bottom too, and of course you'll get these slides later that brings you to our curriculum and has more details about all the classes that you can take in our major. Next slide, please. So when considering applying to the major, something that's actually changing a little bit for us is that for high demand majors, which public health is, and that means that we have limited seats available in our major. We have cycles, 2 application cycles every year where normally you would apply to the major, and if we had enough seats available for everyone, we would of course want everyone to be admitted into the major, but that's not always the case. And so the university is sort of changing policies on how high demand majors are going to be managed in the future. So some of you may have actually been admitted to this fall as an intended public health major with a guaranteed admissions. As long as you complete the prerequisites for our major, you're able to get into the major. I think we're piloting right now a small number of students this incoming class. So if that applies to you, you can certainly reach out to us and we can talk to you about what that process looks like. And we're still figuring that out too. So bear with us as we kind of figure out what that comprehensive review looks like for students that are in that position. But for all of those students who are thinking about public health as a major or transfer students, we still have our application process in place that we currently use. Our applications process consists of a holistic review with multiple committee members, and there are multiple pieces to our application. You have to complete prerequisites, you have some essay questions to write, you'll have to include your transcripts, and we ask for a resume. So there's several pieces that you would do in the next year or two to complete all those pieces before you can apply. And the applications are evaluated based on 3 primary criteria: your academic preparation, so your prerequisite coursework and your grades within those courses, professional, personal, and volunteer experiences. So that's why we ask for a resume, and then any future kind of leadership experience or potential that we see. So, and for us, leadership is not necessarily you had to be, the president of a club or something. It could be something that, you just show that you have responsibility and focus and determination. So, and of course, we included some of those links for you to go through more of the major process. Next slide, please. So, okay, I listed all of this stuff here. And then the application timeline is that just like IB and MCB, we don't declare students in the summer. We have 2 application cycles, one in the fall and one in the spring. You have to complete all of your prerequisites before that application cycle begins. So if you were to apply in a fall cycle, you could take classes in that semester. So this fall, potentially, if you were, a sophomore or a junior. And then at the end of the semester, when your grades are posted, you would apply to our major. So again, those dates never change. They're always December 17th through 31st for the fall and May 17th through the 31st for the spring. incoming first-year students have up until their 5th term at Berkeley to be able to apply to the major. You cannot apply past that term. So you want to make sure you're working towards completing all your prerequisites before that 5th term. But we do recommend that you try to meet all those prerequisites and apply at the end of your sophomore year, so the spring in your sophomore year. Transfer students must apply after their 1st term, so you don't have much time to apply to the major. You'll want to do most of your prerequisites or have done, before getting here, but you can still complete the ones that you need when you arrive and then apply at the end of the fall semester. And we really, really strongly encourage anyone applying to the public health major that you have a backup major. Some students will have, MCB and IB or some other, psychology or something else, but we really encourage you to be prepared in case you apply and are not admitted because of our high demand major status. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Lauren. And also, I believe a recording of this session will also be posted within 5 to 7 business days on the L&S YouTube. So keep an eye out for that. We know this is a lot of information. So to kind of go over the prerequisites for the public health major, we require 7 units of biological sciences. This can be Bio 1A, this can be Bio 1B. So as you plan for that backup major, you could think about what courses overlap so that you could be preparing for 2 majors at once, right? We require 2 math courses. So in A and B, we do accept all of the math series here at Berkeley, Math 10, Math 16, Math 1. And then 3 social science courses. There's a little bit more of the specifics on the link that you see here. We also accept community college credit, and we also accept AP and IB credit just for the math and social sciences. So we require that you take the biological sciences at a college level. And then we also have some sample plans on our website as well. And I recommend just going to that link, just seeing all the different information that we have. Next slide, please. And this is kind of an example of if you took any community college courses to see if they're equivalent through assist.org, if it's through a California community college, if you've attended a 4-year university or a community college outside of California. That's a little bit more trickier, but we could talk more about how to determine equivalency for those. But here on assist.org, we just wanted to highlight to be careful of the and sign, because sometimes it takes 2 community college courses to transfer over as a complete series at UC Berkeley. So you just want to make sure, and we're here to help out to, decipher assist.org and to confirm, double check, triple check to make sure the courses that you're transferring over count. And then next slide. Cool. And then some tips for applying to the major is definitely to meet with a peer advisor. We do have a summer peer advisor, which is Nina. You'll see her wonderful picture here. She's actually a psychology and public health double major. So if you have any double major questions there, and she also minored in public policy. So if you're interested, right, in seeing how she planned out that schedule or how she applied to the public health major or what her interests are, that's definitely something you could do there. Another thing is to reflect on how your professional experiences have informed your interest to pursue public health, right? And there is an emphasis on leadership, right? So leadership can look like anything. It could go from volunteering to becoming a coordinator, right? Or it could look like you took care of your family, right? And if your academic performance wasn't as strong as you would have liked by the time of the application, talk about it in your personal history statement, right? But also it's that balance of like, what does success look like within your context, right? Your experience at Berkeley is going to be very different from your peers. So don't expect like, that you have to be doing 10 internships or something like that. And once again, we emphasize have an alternative major in mind just because we want you to be prepared. It's not that we believe in you any less. It's just we want to make sure you graduate Berkeley in a timely manner and get to do all those cool things that you need to do outside after. And then we do have some resources such as a prospective student listserv. We do have like a maternal, child, and adolescent health LEAP training grant. And so all that information, you could go to that link tree or you could use our general link as well. And there'll be like different boxes on our website and, take 5 minutes to look at each one. And then next slide. And we also do have a global public health minor. So while our major is impacted, our minor is not. It is meant to be a summer minor. So you'll see that a majority of the classes are offered over the summer, and it'll be impossible to complete without taking at least some summer courses. Now, there are no prerequisites. There's no application process. There is a declaration, and you want to make sure you declare before your final semester. So if you're not sure, declare early, and then we could always like undeclare you later on, versus like you complete all the requirements and it's too late to declare it. That's something we want to avoid. It consists of 5 courses, and it's pretty comparable to the major. You could take a lot of the courses that our majors are required to take and kind of still get a comprehensive view of public health, right? The main difference is that you are required to take a global public health course, hence the global public health name in there. And if there is currently a scholarship if you complete it within 2 consecutive summers, $1,500 scholarship that you don't have to apply for. You just need to meet all the requirements. Next slide. And then these are just some of our advising resources. So Lauren and I are the 2 academic advisors / co-managers. So we ask that you email us at spug@berkeley.edu. That's where we'll answer any undergraduate questions. We have appointments and drop-ins available over the summer along with our peer advisors. If you email our peer advisors, we just suggest also CCing our email, because sometimes, when we have one peer advisor, they're not always in every day to answer emails. So best to email our main email as well. And then we are located at Berkeley Way West, which is all the way in downtown. So we do have some in-person appointments available too, if you'd like. We have a phone, but usually, email's best. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And then next slide.
Yeah, and with this slide, there's general emails for questions. At this point during GBA, absolutely your best source of information is going to be to first reach out to your GBA advisor through the B Courses messaging system, and or attend their GBA office hours that they'll have sent you information about that they're going to be hosting weekly or are hosting weekly. And then in general, L&S Advising has a quick question email address as well. It's at asklns@berkeley.edu, and the main IB email address is ibusso@berkeley.edu. For MCB, the email address is mcbuao@berkeley.edu. And finally, for public health, that main email address is spHUG@berkeley.edu. Yeah, and thanks so much for all that great information, everyone. And it looks like we have about 12 minutes to be able to answer questions that have come in through the chat. So yeah, colleagues who have been answering questions through the chat, have there been any themes that have come up that you'd like to surface, or are there any individual questions that you'd like to raise?
There's no active questions right now, but there were many questions about if I wanted to pursue X career, like a pharmacist or optometry, which of the 3 majors should I pursue?
Oh, that's a good question. And I'll take an initial stab if that's okay. And definitely, as folks would like to fill in with a little bit more detailed information, please shout it in as well. One of the reasons that I'll volunteer to take a stab first, just so everybody knows, is here in L&S there's a small team of pre-professional and graduate programs advisors, and my colleague Tim Cahill and myself serve as L&S advisors who work with a lot of pre-medical and pre-health programs students. We're a complementary service to the main pre-med and pre-health advising that takes place in Berkeley's Career Center as well. But to that question, one of the main things to know about being a pre-medical or pre-health student is that there's no specific major that one has to pursue in order to be able to go on to medical school or any of the health professions programs. with medical school and the health professions programs, each of them, medical school, dental school, vet school, nurse practitioner programs, physician assistant programs, and on, each of those types of programs has their own set of prerequisite requirement courses that one must fulfill before applying to the programs. And they vary slightly from med school and health professions program to med school and health professions program. There's a ton of good information on the Career Center's website at career.berkeley.edu about any and all of the pre-med and pre-health professions programs and the prerequisite requirements. So that's definitely worth checking out. All of the health professions programs and medical school prerequisites overlap quite well with IB, MCB, and the public health major, as the pre-medical prerequisite requirements, for example, include a year of biology, general chemistry, organic chemistry, physics, mathematics, statistics, etc. All of those prerequisite requirements for pre-med are incorporated into the IB major. All of them are incorporated into the MCB major, and many of them are incorporated into the public health major as well. So from a medical school advising perspective, knowing that medical school admission can be competitive, the best thing you can do is choose a major that you really like and are really interested in, really engaged in, and will perform academically very well in, whichever major that is. And MCB, IB, and public health are great pre-med, pre-health majors, generally speaking, though. Yeah, is there anything anyone would like to add as well? Oh, I guess I yammered on long enough to cover some of the bases. Yeah, thanks for that question, Fung. Fung or Eric, are there any other questions that we could tackle in this time?
Sure. I think one question, it was answered, but I think it's still good to maybe bring it to the group is if the student got into UCB this fall with intended public health major and got an email about having a seat already, are they part of that comprehensive review since it's a high demand major? And how would they know if they are guaranteed admission?
That's a good question. And we're still figuring out what that means for us, but essentially, we are going to receive the list of students who fall into that group, and we will start communicating with you all. If that was the case, I believe it's around 30 students in the pilot. So you'll hear from us soon to be able to communicate more details about the prerequisites and kind of what the path you should kind of start working on towards that comprehensive review. But essentially it's, completing all the prerequisites before spring 2025. So if you were admitted this, if you're incoming first year students now, then that's kind of the goal that you should have in mind. And when we presented with those prerequisites, you could go back to our website and look those up. You could also we'll probably have everyone meet with us to start talking about how to plan for what that looks like in the next 2 years so that you can make sure you get everything done. And as long as you meet all the prerequisites with a grade of a C- or better, and you take those classes for letter grades and not for pass, no pass, then yes, you would essentially be guaranteed admission. But like I said, we'll reach out to those students so that they know who they are and can confirm that from us. And then you can continue to meet with us throughout the next 2 years to kind of make sure you're still on the path to being able to be admitted to the major. And Patricia, if there's anything else I'm missing, please share.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add for a little bit more context that this is a conversation that a lot of as you might have seen, I believe it's like 11 high demand majors are having across L&S about what that comprehensive review looks like. So it's still kind of in the works, but we'll be sure to be in communication, and you could always contact us as well to make sure that, you're taking all those courses in the right time. And I think one thing I forgot to mention is you want to have a C- or higher in your prerequisite courses, right? Because you want to be in good academic standing, but more information about what good academic standing is going to be solidified in the next couple of months or so.
Yeah, and yeah, to piggyback off of some of that really good information, I guess I would want to share generally with everybody, all incoming students, that it's important to know that for any and all of one's major requirements, whatever that major is, those courses do tend to have to be taken for a letter grade in order to be able to be useful as a requirement, to count as a requirement toward their major. And that's the same typically with minor requirements as well, that all minor requirements have to tend to be taken for a letter grade in order to count for minor requirements. So keeping that in mind as you're planning your schedules, and making sure to take your major and minor courses for letter grades and not for pass, no pass is an important piece as well. Yeah, let's see. Okay, it looks like we have a few more minutes. Is there any last question we'd like to surface? Okay, well, going once, twice, 3 times sold. Okay, well, with that in mind, yeah, I'd very much like to thank everybody for coming today and listening to the workshop. Octavio, Bonnie, Patricia, Lauren, thanks so much for presenting about the major programs. Absolutely appreciate it very much. Yeah, as was mentioned, this webinar has been recorded and it will be available on the L&S Advising YouTube channel. And the L&S Advising YouTube channel can be found at UCB LNS Advising. So at UCB LNS Advising, the letter N in there. And within the next 5 to 7 days, the webinar will be posted. So yeah, thanks so much for coming, everybody. We look forward to working with you. If you're working on your GBA final assignment, hopefully this information provided you with a little bit more insight for planning your courses for fall semester. And definitely, like I said, as questions arise, please reach out to your GBA advisors through the B Courses messaging system, and or going to their office hours for GBA is absolutely useful as well. So thanks much, and I hope you all have a good day.